Gentleman from South Carolina is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner, Lois Lerner sat where you're sitting right now and said, I have broken no laws, I have done nothing wrong, and I have violated no IRS rules or regulations. Now, as a very highly accomplished attorney like yourself, you would have to concede that's pretty broad testimony, wouldn't you?
That's a statement, whether it's broad testimony and what its relationship is to the
No, it's broad. Your scope of cross-examination, if we'd been in trial, would have been unlimited. You mentioned a judge earlier, what a judge would do with this subpoena. Let me tell you what a judge would do with that testimony. You could ask just about whatever you wanted to ask. When a witness says, I've done nothing wrong, that is tantamount to saying, I've done everything right. I can't think of any testimony broader than that. So necessarily, our line of inquiry would also want to be broad. Wouldn't you agree?
I think your line of inquiry ought to be what it is no matter what people have.
Well, no, you said a judge would throw our subpoena out, and I can't help but note you haven't moved to quash our subpoena, but you think a judge would throw our subpoena out as being overly broad.
If we were in the private sector, which we're not, the judge.
Well, I want to make it easier for you. How long will it take you to produce Lois Lerner's emails that don't involve 6103 material from January of 2010?
Well,
could we have that by Friday?
Absolutely not.
Why?
No way, because there's no way physically we can get
January of 2010. That's 1 month. No 6103 material. Just email.
1 month.
Just 1 month. When can we get that?
We still, well, we have to go through each of those emails to make sure it has no 6103.
Well, how long is that going to take? Can we have it by Friday?
I have no idea.
Just 1 month, Commissioner. Just January of 2010. No 6103, and let me tell you why I'm interested in it.
No, well, I'll tell you, today is Wednesday. I'd be happy to ask the people who do the work and get back to you.
All right, let's do January of 2010. And then let's get ambitious and do February of 2010. And then let's go March 2010. And I think you know why I'm doing 2010, Commissioner. When the President likes 5-4 Supreme Court decisions, he calls that settled law, like the ACA. When he doesn't like 5-4 Supreme Court decisions like Citizens United, he attacks it, which is what he did in January of 2010. And that's why the timeline is so important, Commissioner. The jury is never entitled to know the motive, but they always want to know the motive. You don't ever have to prove why somebody did something, but the jury always wants to know, why did this happen? And if you start in January 2010 with the President's State of the Union address, and then you move through Lois Lerner's emails that have nothing to do with 6103 material, you begin to see a motive develop.
Great. You're going to get 20,000 pages of documents this afternoon. Some of them may well be January 2010. But I will check with our people, because if you would like us to stop that production of Lois Lerner emails and go to January 2010, I will go and find out exactly how long.
What I want is this. I want the subpoena complied with. I want it complied with in a timely fashion. And you and I both know that if there's no 6103 material, whether or not you think we need something or we ought to have it, or that we're on a wild goose chase, frankly, I could care less what you think about that. Our subpoena is our subpoena. If you don't like it, move to quash it. Otherwise, comply with it. Because you noted that our search was overly broad. I want you to tell me what search you would use to find an email where an IRS employee responded, "You who," when she was told that a Democrat won a special election. What search terms would you recommend that we use to find that email?
We've worked from the start of this investigation.
What search terms would you use to find an email where the response was, "You who," when a Democrat won a special election?
We might actually work together to see if there are search terms that would involve political campaigns, elections, political parties.
What search term would you use when Lois Lerner responded that a GOP Senate would be worse than a GOP president?
I would actually, if you wanted to, we'd go through and say, look at political parties, look at references to elections, GOP and Democrat.
Or we can do this. Just give us all of the emails she sent or received in January of 2010 that don't involve 6103 material, and we'll decide what we think is relevant and not. Because she said, "I've done nothing wrong, I've broken no IRS rules or regulations, and I have broken no laws. That is pretty broad, Mr. Commissioner.
Now, if I could just have a moment. This is exactly the discussion we've been having for the last year, and we'd be delighted to have, which is, out of the universe, what is it that you think would be most important? We'll give you the universe, but as I say, that'll take you more than this year. If we could figure out,
I just told you, it's January of 2010, because
January
that's when
2010.
that's when the Supreme Court issued its opinion in Citizens United. That's when the President of the United States famously, to their faces in the State of the Union, criticized that, and that's when Lois Lerner began to say, IRS can't fix it, we need a plan, we need to be cautious, we need to make sure it's not per se political. Let's start with January 2010. Can we have that by Friday?
And as I would say, I am delighted, and it's this kind of discussion, for instance, with the
Mr. Costner.
4-year worth of, could I just respond? With the 4 years worth of applications to C4s, we might be able to say, well, which ones would you like, so that we don't spend 3 years at it. January 2010 is a perfectly understandable definition, and we will actually respond to you as quickly as we can.
Commissioner, you need to understand our perspective, though. Maybe this started off as an investigation into the targeting of C4s, but when you have people who are supposed to be apolitical responding the way that she has responded, Tea Party dangerous, maybe the FEC will save the day, we got to make sure it's not per se political. When you have people in positions of authority and responsibility that are expressing overtly political commentary on government email, I think we ought to be entitled to all of them, and that's why we asked for it.
Chairman.
I would just simply note that, for the record, that you already have all those emails, which is why you have all of that information. So it is not as
we don't know what we don't know, Mr. Commissioner. We know the ones we have.
You know the ones we have, and
I got it.
we'll go to January 2000.
Mr. Costner, here's the point.